To see everybody here, and today we're going to be talking about building a mask with rigid wrap. And hang on,
With what?
rigid wrap, and
Oh,
Did you
I
know
don't know
we
what that.
can't see you?
I know, and I'm
Oh,
trying to find that. That's what I'm trying to get.
I don't know what rigid wrap is.
I'll be right with you.
okay.
Cool.
Um, Somehow my camera got disabled, and that's what I'm trying to.
Oh, you're back.
There,
No.
is it? No, no.
Nope.
This is so frustrating. I met with Lauren earlier today, and we tested it all out. And different craft stores, if you type in rigid wrap in Portland, it will list up about 10 different stores in the Portland and Beaverton area that stock this particular product. It is an extremely flexible, idiot-proof medium to work with. It's why I like to use it. I've used it for a lot of different things, including mask making, in particular, what we would think of as the classic commedia dell'arte kind of mask. But it's got a lot of great flexibility that works really well for prop building or for specialty gear that, for example, for Halloween for my wife this year, I'm making a Druid Queen costume, and I want to do a kind of a forest sculpted crown, branches and antlers and things like that, and something that's coming down. And so this particular medium is really handy that I can build something that's custom fitted to my wife. The nice thing about the rigid wrap mask is you're building something that's going to be built onto the face. It custom fits your face. It sits very comfortably, very naturally because it's molded to your face. So it doesn't require a lot of work to tie up and fasten on and to keep it affixed because it literally is just sitting on your face. This is a very easy, flexible medium. It is not like hot plaster, like commercial plaster. You can use it on kids. Kids can do this. This is a great project to break kids into this kind of craft making. And you can do things, for example, once you've got the base mask started, you can then go back and then do more detailed work. You can take the mask off, build up on it, put it back on, build more with it on you. So again, it's extremely adaptable to working with different glues, different paints, and incorporating different details in this. One of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight is taking and building a base mask, but then incorporating other details into the mask. So for example, here I have this lovely cow nose. I could take and build a basic mask for myself, but if I wanted to do, say, a minotaur or whatever, I could build this nose in where all I could, if I wanted to, sculpt and spend hours and hours creating a cow snout for myself, but someone has built this lovely one that costs $1.75 that I can affix on and feather in and mache into my mask. And now I've got a good start and I can start building my horns, or I can purchase horns. And in a very short amount of time, I've got a real nice Minotaur mask that doesn't take me 3 weeks. I can now do it in 3 hours. So that's the advantage of using the rigid wrap, is combining different items together. I was at Walmart yesterday and saw that they had an okay sort of raven mask. It was okay, but I could build me a mask, but the beak was actually quite nice. I could cut that beak off, put it on, and now I've got my a custom built raven mask for me that then I can, if I choose, could add like real black feathers on and make myself something really cool and exotic. And again, quick and easy, super flexible, and does not require a huge amount of work in terms of elastics or ribbons to attach to my face. One of the questions that came up earlier on Facebook was, can I make a mask with glasses? And the answer is yes, you can, and we will be talking about that. So at this time, I want to introduce my beautiful model for this evening. This is my friend Marin.
Hello.
And Marin and I have been in lots of each other's shows. We work together. She's a fantastic belly dance. She introduced me into Gothic and industrial belly dancing, which I've never seen before and instantly fell in love with. She also, she is in a band that performs at Fairy Worlds and at other different ones. So if you've been to Fairy Worlds, you will have seen her on the main stage. So I'm really excited and super jazzed to have her as my my model for this evening. So I'm going to get started. So we're going to we're going to move this up. We can do a little bit of both. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to pull this up. This is why I have my backup.
Okay, I'm right here.
All right. Okay. And there's a couple things that I have done by way of prep. First of all, I have her all swabbed out because we're going to be using water, so I don't want to get any drip any plaster water on her. And we're going to be working around on the head and the forehead. So what I like to do is get a bag ahead of time onto my model, and I've got my handy masking tape. And what I want to do is I want to get this down fairly tight. Fortunately, what I don't have to do this for hours on end, so she's not going to like sweat out. It's not terribly comfortable. So the goal is just to make sure that we've got the hair out of the way. Now, one of the questions that comes up is, do I need to like Vaseline my eyebrows or something like that? And the answer is no, you do not. You can. I find that it's much more of a hassle later when I'm doing the finishing work on my mask. Because the Vaseline just kind of gums up the work, as it were. Now, there is something here that I want to show you. I have tape down here on the side on either side at the apex of the eyes right here. I have taped in some washers on either side. The reason why I've done that is because if I'm going to be putting elastic or ribbons in on my mask, I want to make sure that wherever my mask is getting pulled by the ribbons or the elastic, that it's really, really strong. So I'm going to be embedding in the plaster some washers. They could be plastic, it could be whatever you'd like. You could use even like a paper clip taped in on either side, but there's something that's just going to provide some little extra strength, that it's going to be the ribbon and the elastic is going to be pulling on that and not on the mask itself. When I pop the mask off, the washers will be right on the inside of the mask, and I'm going to go back through on the inside and just do a little bit of paper mache work, kind of sandwich that that washer in, and then that way it will not stretch, it will not pop out, it will not break the mask. It'll just make it that much stronger. So I've got these washers on either side, and those are going to be part of my build. One of the other things that I'm going to do, I figure out like what kind of mask do I want to do, and then from there I'm going to, I'll know, like, is this going to be a handheld mask that's going to cover my whole face that I'm going to hold up with the rod, and if so, I want to make sure that I'm making the chin area really strong, where I'm going to have to drill through to attach my rod. Or for like the mask that we're talking about doing on Marin, is there something that I want a special detail that's going to, that we want to do. So thinking about something that she might wear at Prairie World, where she might want to have some antlers, I want to make sure that my forehead is extra strong and reinforced. So the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take an eyebrow pencil. I'm just going to sketch lightly where I think I want to make sure my mask to go. And this is just to kind of help remind me. I'm going to build my my mask around here. Now, since she might be like playing with the band on stage, I want to make sure that I give her a really wide area so that she can see her fellow bandmates on the stage. So this way, I can always go back later and trim out. But if I have it set right the first time, it's a lot easier. It's less fiddling that I have to do. Okay, so I have here, I'm going to show you, tilt over here, show you on the table, I've got different kinds of lengths of plaster bandages cut out. Usually I start with small ones like these, just about a ½ inch wide. I also have a number of triangle pieces cut out. The reason why we do the triangle pieces is because they bend over a curve much better than just a straight piece. The rigid wrap comes usually in about a 3-inch roll size like this. This is the most common one. There is a wider version that they now sell about 8 inches wide. This is nice if you've got bigger projects. So like the crown project that I'm working on, this one will work really, really nice for that. On the side over here next to me, I have a bowl of hot water. I don't want it boiling hot because that will burn the person that you're building on. You want warm water to dip the plaster bandage in to activate the plaster. The warmer the water, the smoother the plaster. When the water gets cold, your plaster will get really gunky and gummy. So that's your clue that, oh, I need to re-up that. So if you're working on a long project with a big mask, a heavy plaster buildup, you want to be watching the temperature of your water so that you don't get it gritty. It's just that much harder to clean up from. All right, with that then we're going to begin. And usually the first thing that I encourage you to do is just we start with a very simple X right across the bridge of the nose, right in through here like that. And from there, we're going to work our way out. If during the course of this demo you have any questions, either just click on and unmute and ask. I'll be happy to take questions, or you can send a question through chat, and Lorian will be happy to snag me and flag me down for that. So I'm dipping. I run my hand through here to get it all nice and smooth. And layer across, another one. You want to have these pre-cut ahead of time because you don't want to be cutting this with your hands all wet, because then you get the plaster all gummed up. And after I have sculpted out and sketched out where I want my mask to go, I can then start tracing around my outline for my mask. Where first I want my eye. And then I will start getting the shape of the mask itself. And like I said, it's a very forgiving medium. When I say it's idiot proof, as an idiot, I can tell you it really is. And I really like that. Now, what you want to do, the goal is to have overlapping bandages so that that's how we're going to make it strong. It's not just, it's the same principle as working with paper mache. You don't want just, one big piece of paper. You want lots and lots of different papers building up to give us the shape and the strength that we need. Now, so for this one here, I'm thinking about, okay, I want to do something with antlers. So what I might do with this one is I might get my first couple of layers of plaster on, and then I will take my antlers and I will measure them out for how wide they are at the bottom, and I will build like a PVC cup that I will glue onto the mask, and then I'll start plastering around that PVC cup so that my antlers can then just pop right in. What I'm going to do here is I have figured out how high up I'm going, and now I'm going vertically, or horizontally, excuse me, across her forehead. And then the next time I do my passover, I'm going to do it going up and down this way. So I'm layering up and shingling up those bandages so that I can build up the strength layers in between. Now, one of the nice things, as I said, if you can, you want to try to keep smoothing out as you go. I'm keeping an eye on my washers so that I get them in there. And I don't care if my bandages go over the washer hole, because I can always drill them out. One of the nice things about this one is the rigid wrap is extremely flexible. I can sand it. I can drill it with a Dremel tool. Like I said, you can paint it with just about any kind of medium that you can think of. It maches beautifully. It does a lot of the things that we want. You can fold in all kinds of different stuff, and you can build in, once you've got your base layer, you can start building in details. So sometimes what I'll do is, once I've got the shape, the base layer down, I can start adding in like foam sheets to put in to give me some raised relief, like for an animal. So if I'm doing a frog or something, I could start putting in egg cups in here for wanted to create something like a frog's eye or something like that. So again, once you've got your base on here, you can start building away. The forehead, you see, I've got the horizontal pieces across. I'm now taking my triangle pieces and I'm running across there. I'm getting a nice flat curve. And I'm smoothing out as I go through, especially on my top pieces. I want to keep it as smooth as I can get, because that's less finishing work that I have to do later on. I have some longer strips, and those I like to use for kind of establishing a nice firm outline of my mask. Once I've got the the shape established with my smaller strips. And again, it's giving me a. So one of the things that you want to do is you don't want your to just be layering wet plaster on top of wet plaster. So it's nice to let a little bit of time to go in between each layer. The nice thing is that your own body heat is going to be drying out from the inside. So you are baking your mask as you go. If you were doing a show where, say, we were building, um, doing a production of Twelfth Night, or a masked ball, where we were having to crank out 20 people on stage with fitted masks. What I have done before is if I'm building 4 or 5 masks at a time, I can hop in between different people. And by the time I finish with the second or third person and get back to my first one, it's dry enough that I can continue on doing that. If time is a real crunch, once you've got your base mask built, as in you've got like 2 or 3 layers on there, you can wiggle your eyebrows around, scrunch up, suck in your cheeks, and pop the mask off, and then stick it in the microwave for about 2 minutes. Let it rest, let it cool down, maybe zap it for another 2 minutes, and then when it cools down, you pop it back on your face and you continue to work on it. So it's as I said, it's a very friendly, giving, flexible program. You don't want to do that, by the way, if you're using metal washers, but you can if you have plastic ones or some other kind of thing like that. Again, it just depends on what it is that you are wanting to do. The more that you have thought this out in terms of what kind of mask I want, what do I want the final shape to be, what shape for the eye holes do I want, getting that down, getting that sketched out, it will make your mask building a lot easier. But there's nothing wrong with having a couple of blank face masks, either this classic domino style that I'm doing on Marin now, to have, and then when you're ready to do a mask, it's like, oh, I've got this event coming up. Well, I've already got a good mask blank of me in a drawer somewhere or hanging in my sewing room wall that I can just pull off and start, painting, decorating, or splicing on a beak or some other kind of detail to get me the look that I want. While this is drying on Marin's face, I want to talk just a quick moment there, because we had somebody asking earlier about, can we do this with glass? What I would do is, before I started the show, I would put the person's glasses on and then put a plastic bag over that and draw it in really, really tightly. What you will get is kind of a bug-eyed, bulging eye effect. But it works great for if you're wanting to do a space mask, or to do something like like I said, a frog or a fish, something like that. You get those nice built-out round eyes, and you can actually then go on and further trick it out with like half eggshells, like pantyhose eggs or something, Easter egg ones. And when you're all done, you've got something that will fit, and I'm building up not only on around the glasses, but along the stems of the glasses back. So my mask is going to come back to the ears here, and I've framed in around the stems of the glasses and around the lenses. So now I've built a mask, and I've built several of these for people with glasses, where now people with glasses can wear a fitted mask. And it's the same thing. It'll sit on the cheeks, it'll sit on the nose, it'll sit on your forehead in a very, very comfortable way, that's not going to push your glasses off your face, make it really uncomfortable, or you having to fight with your glasses crushing into you. So for people who wear glasses or need glasses, and they can't, dance without them, this has always been a challenge in the past. So just figure out what exactly you want your ultimate final look to be, and then see if that's something that you can incorporate wearing your glasses. There's a certain,
Richard, why do you call this a domino mask?
that's what it was because a domino was good question. That refers back to a very old Italian character from the Commedia dell'arte, and the domino was a very simple mask that just went right around here. So the domino is the rounded version. The harlequin mask goes to a point. So if you are buying a just an eye mask, the rounded is called the domino, the pointed is called the harlequin. And I tend to go with rounded ones as opposed to pointed ones, but in point of fact, you can do whatever. It all depends on the character that you are trying to sculpt and what you want to do with it. All right, so this is already set up nicely in here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some more strips on, and then we're going to talk about some other finishing ways in just a moment. And I'm going to continue to work. And all that I want to do, what you want to do is you want to make sure you keep track of which way you're going. So it's like, oh, I went vertical the last time. I want to go horizontal this time. And just make sure that I'm applying evenly the same number of bandages around. And when you pop off the mask, you can look from the inside against a light bulb, and that will tell you, oh, this part is thin. I need to reinforce and build this up some more. Or if I'm, this edge feels kind of wobbly and weak, so I need to reinforce that. And I can do that in a couple of different ways. I can go back and add some more bandages in here. Or if I'm going to be doing some finishing work, which we're going to talk about next, I can go back and reinforce through my finishing. As I said, the plaster is really adaptable for working with a lot of different mediums. And I've done a lot of different experiments with different mask mediums to get different looks for different kind of masks for different characters. And I have found that what I like to do in finishing off my mask is to use Podge. And I use that for a variety of reasons, and not the least of which is because it's a really nice, clean finish that, again, is very flexible. But also is a nice sealant. So I'm going to while this is drying on Marin here, I want to show you a couple of other masks that I have built up in advance for this class for our demo today. So this is a mask that I built for my son. I was at the store and I found these Fortnite goggles. So I put the goggles on him, traced around with a eyebrow pencil so I knew where the shape was going to go, and then built this to his face. Built it as originally a plaster mask down here, and then he's quite fond of the Ultraman classic manga series, and so we added in this big dorsal fin on top, and then started macheting with a combination of tissue paper, and for strength purposes, I like to use brown paper bags. Brown paper bags give a lot of strength when you are doing mache work. And then over that, I will do a layer of tissue paper, which is much finer. And I will do a series of tissue paper layup with coats of the classic Mod Podge, which you can get in both matte and gloss. Either one is fine, but each layer of that dried out cow hooves keratin gives a lot of strength to this, and will smooth it out as I go through and brush it up. So when this is all done and painted and detailed, I will then glue these goggles on like this, and the original elastic that's part of the goggles will then just wrap around his head, and now he's got this really cool kind of classic Ultraman sort of looking mask here. We talked about building and splicing on mask details if you don't want to build a whole mask of your own. So coming up in 3 weeks is we have our Gothic Tea coming up, which coincidentally enough, I'm hosting. And so I wanted to have a mask to wear to welcome people to the Gothic Tea. So I thought, oh, I could spend hours and hours cutting out pieces of foam to build up and create my own, skull armature. I could do something with clay, but it has to dry out. What other? It's like, no, I could just build a basic half mask for me here in plaster, and then go find a inexpensive skull mask and attach it. So here in the back, this is a mask that I cast of my face, which I then took a commercial mask, skull mask. Again, this was like $1.50 at Goodwill, and I taped it to this mask. And you can see here, I taped it on, and then I just start layering in the Mod Podge. Now, I took a long piece of pipe and some styrofoam balls, and with some flared out cardstock, I created my own femur bone. So I've got this form-fitted mask on with a femur bone for my stick here, and this gives you, so this is unfinished. This gives you a little bit more of it painted detailed. I like that the tissue, and I'm leaving the tissue a little bit coarse, molded, so that it'll look more like fissures in a classic bone, as opposed to the smooth plastic look. So I actually think that the tissue on the skull gives it a much more realistic appearance. And then I'll go through and dry brush and bring out all the details of the nostrils, the eyes, cracks in the head, detailing in the teeth. But it'll be and then same thing, detailing the bone. But this is a real, this is a nice handy way of having something that I can have in the bottom here. What I did down here at the mask, this mask is plastic, but if I was doing a large oversized cast mask for myself, I would do the same thing, drilling a hole to match the rod, and then I use wide washers below, glued to the mask, and above, glued here, and then I've just macheted over so it's nice and soft. It's not going to scratch my chin, and there's plenty of distance in here, so I can hold this frame right up against me, talk comfortably. I'm not hitting my chin against anything sharp. It's nice, it's comfortable. The other nice thing is that when the reason why I like to do the Mod Podge on the inside, because the plaster, when you take it off, can still be kind of, sharp and, plaster feeling. So when I put the tissue paper and the Mod Podge on the inside, it's much more soft. It's much more comfortable. Once I have, for example, I have spray painted the inside here. As you know, spray paint stinks. Sealing it with the Mod Podge with a coat of glue, something like that. That helps to take away some of that nasty toxic smell. So it's I highly recommend that. Every pass that I do with glue on here, with glue or tissue paper, just strengthens the whole thing. It's not adding a whole lot of weight, but it makes it that much stronger. So if you are dancing and you accidentally drop your mask, it's not going to shatter, which is something that we don't want to have happen. So all of that tissue, that paper on there is just adding a lot of good strength that's going to make my mask hold up for a long night at the vampire ball or wherever you decide to go. So I'm checking here. So for Marin, I'm thinking about, okay, so if I'm going to be dropping antlers and horns in here later on, I want to make sure that this is going to be really, really strong, because it's going to have to hold whatever I'm going to be dropping those horns into. So I'm going to make sure that I have it built up nice and strong. And I've reinforced it. And again, I can do this I can build this up as much as I want to with just the rigid wrap, or, and this is what I would advise, I can get something that I know that whatever details I want to put in. So for example, you may want to build like a dragonfly where it's a big foam thing coming off the head and you got, jeweled wings, or I want to put in flowers, or I want to do, something that's going to be, spiked for a crown or whatever. The nice thing about the rigid wrap, once you start working with it, once you figure out how easily it drapes over an armature and it's strong and sturdy, it's like, oh, this is fun. We can go to town. Suddenly, cool custom tombstones to go outside on your front porch, not just some, cheap styrofoam crap that you get at the dollar store, but something that really looks like it's got, really stone and painted with enough paint and sealant will hold up in the rain. There's some really cool stuff that you can do with this. So there are a lot of, as I said, from a prop building standpoint, there's some really great implications of what you can do with it. And it's extremely flexible in terms of the different materials that you can add to it, the way that you can paint it, you can glue it, you can be layering up and shingling details into it. So at this point right now, I could easily start putting in cabochons, or one of the things that I've done is I've taken like even big sequins and put them underneath and then start layering again. And I get this nice kind of subtle fish skin or scale appearance underneath it. So as I said, it's extremely flexible and forgiving, and it's not it's not terribly time consuming, and it is something that will, as you can see, there's really nothing that kids can do that is going to ruin them or their clothes if you've got them, draped properly ahead of time. So we've got, this is a great one to get kids involved in. And the same thing, once you could also build the mask for the kids. And at this time of quarantine, when we're all working at home, it's like, well, what are we going to do with the kids? This is a great kind of a science and art project, because the plaster is going through different stages and is changing. But then you can also, it's not just the sculpting, but now it's the painting and the detailing. This is a chance to go through and look at historical masks and how they made them and what the significance of the different characters are. It's a great way if you're doing Greek drama and you want to talk about how drama began in Western civilization and and the use of the mask that not only were large enough exaggerated features that they could be read in an arena from far away, but also had the mouth shaped in such a way that it acted as a megaphone, which helped to carry the actors' voices from a distance. So there's a lot in here that mask making is eminently a lot of fun to do because there's so much about the character and the releasing of the id and something very magical and transformative that says, okay, I was this person in the flesh, but I put this mask on, this totem, and suddenly I can transform. I love masks. I love working with masks. I love to go into a store and just watch mundanes who don't realize it, but they put on a mask and then suddenly they change. And it's like, I'm not an actor. I could never get on stage, but they put on a mask and suddenly they're a different character and they go and they scare their kids. And the kids freak out because they saw dad there, but now dad isn't there. It's this other thing. We have this very, very powerful relationship connection to mask. And a lot of people don't even realize the great talismanic power that masks have. So I highly encourage everyone to do this because it's a really fun way to do this. Again, the rigid wrap is not particularly expensive. This one I've made 3 masks out of the 3-inch by how many inches is this one? Because I'm not wearing my glasses. They're probably in metric. Anyway, 3 inches, three masks out of this one. This larger one, I could probably do full face masks and probably do 3 full face masks out of this one. So this one we'll be using a lot for Halloween this year. And then a $12 bottle of Podge. I bought myself a nice $5 craft paint assortment so that I can be painting and detailing through this one, but I also like to use these or even sponge brushes for painting and detailing my Mod Podge on. So again, it's not a big investment. It's not something where you are like, oh my God. And again, masking tape, hot glue, all of these things can be used on here to good effect. It's, like I said, an extremely forgiving one. And then once you've got this base mask on here, you can start adding in cut pieces of foam sheets or cardstock or rubber noses or other things like that, or even non-traditional objects to create something that will get you the look that you want. But the nice thing is this is custom fit to you, and it goes on and it will sit on there very easy, very comfortably. And I guarantee you it's the most comfortable mask you've ever worn because it sits and it's custom built to your face. I've done lots of these for different things. I've used the rigid wrap to do quick live casts. So I'll tell you a fun story. I was directing and designing a production of Salome, and we did not have anybody on the peninsula to do a full cast and create a live cast for the bust for the severed head of John the Baptist. So I built a full casting of the actor's face playing John the Baptist, and then did a latex slush of his face, which I then peeled out and glued onto a styrofoam head, and it worked out great. It looked like the actor, and it was a lot of latex to build up for that one. But in the absence of having somebody who had the dental stone and the alginate that we would normally use to create a live cast of someone's face, this stuff worked really, really well when you are down in the trenches and it's like the show opens in a week and this is what you got to do. So like I said, very, very flexible, very lightweight. When the water dries out, This is incredibly lightweight, and it feels fragile, but it really isn't. And again, the more that I'm building up and painting with paper mache technique, with like the Mod Podge. I like the Mod Podge because paper mache itself is like putting something wet, like wheat paste, water onto the plaster. That's going to make it limp. The glue doesn't do that. You just go through that. Can you use a hair dryer to speed things along? You absolutely can. One of the things when I'm doing a big project like this is I will turn my oven on to 200 degrees, and I'll take a cookie sheet, I'll line it with wax paper, and then just stick this in. This one will be drying while I'm working on this other mask over here, and I'll just alternate between the two of them, and just that low, have the oven open, and it's just to allow the mache, the Mod Podge to dry in between, or the wet plaster. If I was worried that if I was going to be doing a production of The Tempest, and I was going to have this as one of my fairy creatures running and crushing around, I probably would not leave it just as paper mache. I would probably take the rigid wrap and actually plaster this to get it really, really sturdy so that it would hold up for the length of the run and would take, smashing in and colliding with somebody on stage. Next year, I have a production of Thornton Wilder's The Skin of Our Teeth. And as you know, in the first act, there is a mastodon and dinosaur on stage. And if that dinosaur has to come and crash around the living room, I want to think about, okay, how do I want to make that, or the tusks of the mastodon in such a way that they'll hold up to not, breaking, so that's that plaster glued over becomes quite strong. So and again gets that nice bone quality. I see that some people have asked questions. Lauren, are there any questions that I need to answer? Are there any questions so far from anybody? Have I gone over too quickly? Anybody have any questions? You're all so attentive, and I so appreciate it. Okay, so I want to talk. I'm ready to pop this off of Marin right now, and this is set up. It feels fairly dry to the touch. It partly because she is so hot that she's just baking it herself. She's also hot because she's swathed in plastic. So again, not real breathable. But all that you have to do for releasing is just to say, all right, raise your eyebrows up and down, suck in your cheeks, wiggle your nose. You just want to do those kinds of things, just raise and wiggle, just to get, and as you stretch your face, good. And I'm going to lift off. All righty. And here we go. This is our wonderful mask here now. You can see on the back, I've got the holes that have been left here for my for reinforcement, and I'm going to be gluing. I will drill those out and put like a wash around, and then when I start to mache, I will have those captured in there. And when she goes to wear this, it will be it'll just it won't pull out. It won't cause the mask to break. And I strongly encourage you, if you're going to have something that you're building for yourself, do something that's going to help it to last for a long time. I can look through at the light. I can see where this is strong, where this is weak. The nice thing about now that I've got this done through here, typically what I will do is I will make like I will check my holes to see how symmetrical they are. Sometimes I want them to be very symmetrical. Sometimes I want them to be very asymmetrical or off, because it gives it more of a character quirk when I raised up or down or whatever. So depending again on the character that I'm sculpting this mask for, I can go through, I can trim out with a small pair of scissors around the plaster. I will smooth out the shape that I want. For this one, when it goes home with Marin, again, we'll talk about, well, where do we want these antlers? Are we using real deer antlers? how heavy are they? How much do we need to build up to support? Are we taking branches and fork, with a good fork to put in here? And then what is our overall color scheme going to be? Is there, when we seal this, are there additional details? Again, we talked about having things like sequins or, different paillettes or beads or different sizes of different ones that we can be embedding into the Mod Podge that'll give me a really unique kind of fun texture for either whether I want something really alien or whether I want something to look like an animal or something really exotic or whatever. So depending on what kind of character I'm trying to create here, that will determine my finishing technique. But again, I've got a nice base here. It's real sturdy. I'm going to lay it on a piece of like a bunch of plastic bags is what I like because they're soft, but they'll also kind of help hold the shape of the mask while it's drying. I can also go over and take this and put it in the microwave for a couple of minutes to start drying it out. And then the nice thing is you can let it air dry and then go back to working on it. Or if you're like me, it's like, no, I got to work on this now. I will dry it out through a series of bursts in the microwave to dry out the water, and then I can immediately start macheting it. As I mache it and I'm baking it in the stove to dry out, it can get a little flexible, which is kind of nice. I put like a napkin over my face and put this back on, and I can remold it to my face and just let it cool down, and it hardens, and it's like right there. So you get that kind of nice final fitting like that one. So really super easy, inexpensive, very flexible, idiot proof, good for kids. I highly recommend that you go out and get yourself a bag of this. They're not expensive. Do it for yourself. Do it for the kids. This is a great way for kids to get their own special mask. You can, do an easy superhero, Hawkman, Green Lantern, a Batman form-fitted mask that's going to be much better than anything that they're going to get at the store, and let them run around, just have a blast. And the nice thing is, if it gets broken, you can fix it with more rigid wrap or more Mod Podge. So it's or make a new one. Each time that you do this, it's a nice, easy tutorial because I learned this from the last time, and everything that I've learned from working with these masks, I've learned from previous experiences. So I found that, sketching out where I want my mask to go, what shape I want my eyes, makes it a whole lot easier for.
That's Christy. I'll read that to you.
Yeah.
She says she missed the beginning before application. Did your model have anything put on her skin?
No, so the only reason why I would recommend putting something down is if they are super hypoallergenic. I mean, if they're like really allergic to anything like that, and that's going to be an issue for whatever you do. But this popped off of Marin really easy. For one thing, you're usually so hot and all that plastic that you're swabbed in, you sweat, and the sweat works as a really good release agent. So it's not something that you have to, but if I had put in Vaseline over the eyebrows, I would be stuck with this Vaseline that's never going to go away. So I would have to do a lot of mache work on top of this to cover up the Vaseline. So that's why I don't do it. The only reason why I would do it is if you had some, giant antenna, huge, boar bristle ones that you're in which case what I would use is like a glue stick to glue those down, just like you would if you were doing that for a drag show. But
no discomfort.
Yeah, it's really, really not. In fact, what I found, it's kind of like getting a makeup peel. I actually find it really, I feel very invigorated once I take the mask off. So there's probably a nice peel kind of effect that comes from that as well. God only knows what we are taking off, exfoliating with this mask. You might be at least taking out dead skin. So it's all got a good thing going through it. Once you're done, you're going to clean up, but afterwards, you really don't need to worry about that. And it's like I said, if you're really concerned, I would probably just like take a wet washcloth to get the eyebrows wet before you do that. If you're working with somebody with a beard, I don't recommend going into the beard. But again, if you need to, you could, Vaseline down for that. But I will say this: this is kind of like doing a costume or a makeup. There is no definitive right way to do this. A mask is a highly personal thing, and it should be something that's reflective of you. And I think that you should really trust your own muse and spirit guide to take you where you want to go. But don't let anybody say, "Oh, this is how it's supposed to be." No, there's not. There's not a definitive look for a classic Frankenstein or a vampire or anything else, and it's certainly true for the kind of mask that you want. Um, if you don't have prodigious hand painting talents for finishing the mask, like say you're doing it like a commedia dell'arte mask that would have all kinds of paint or filigree work on it, just find a really pretty tissue paper, an elegant tissue paper that's got a vine pattern on it or a floral pattern on it, and use that for your. It will look great. I've seen beautiful masks that are done with sheet music, torn sheet music, and put on there, and it looks absolutely stunning. So there's no right or wrong way to do that. Yes, Lauren, we have another
Oh,
question.
well, she commented and she said that um, she appreciated your suggestion to use Mod Podge and tissue for a smoother finish. Yeah, I haven't done that before. I had done really thick masks and tried to sandpaper them. But you also mentioned it sounds like sometimes you've coated with plaster. You've actually brushed plaster on. Is that correct? Did I hear you correct?
No,
Yeah.
so I've smoothed out, but I wouldn't mix the two kinds of plasters because art plaster gets very, very hot. And it's not something that, you can actually burn somebody.
Well, I was
With
thinking
that.
after you took it off their face.
After you took it off, you certainly could. But then it becomes very heavy.
Heavy.
And that would be my concern with that. With masks, the holy grail is to keep it as light as you can. The lighter the mask, the longer you're willing to wear it. So for those of us that are thinking, oh, we're going to do an exotic bird of paradise for the Enchanted Forest Ball, and I highly recommend that you all do, or butterflies or something like that, thinking about how we can make our mask as light as we can. The more comfortable, lighter it is, the more we're inclined to wear it longer than I was at the event for 15 minutes and I took it off and I never put it on again. And it just sat on the table. So you want to try to keep it as light as you can. So that's why picking up creating the details, uh, the raised effects, the sculptural effects with like foam sheets or tag boards so that it's not solid plaster buildup, that it can actually even be hollow, is a great way to get those. You can get quite large masks like this, where there's big, big details, but it's hollow, and then it's not going to be something that's cumbersome and heavy and hard to wear. You can also, these combine really well with wigs. You can be adding and building up this so that, oh, say this is going to be a Seder mask for where we're going to have some nice little, goat horns. and then I've got enough space in here that I can layer in a wig here on top, and I can dress with flowers. There's a lot that I can do. I could build, just a satyr brow to sit on top to dress with different things like that. Or I can build a helmet. I could do, something that's very barbaric or whatever. So for Christmas, my family does a different themed costume dress up. This year, the Bad Stevens are going to be doing D&D. So I'm going to be a bard, and my son Chaz is going to be a thief. My son Robbie is going to be a barbarian. My oldest daughter is going to be a mage. My wife is going to be a druid queen because she can sit. She rides around in a wheelchair. And so we're all, we're working on our outfits for Halloween because hell or high water, we're dressing up even if trick-or-treating is outlawed. But then we'll have something nice to wear. And so this gives us a chance to create a really nice a variety of different things, including helmets that will give us the look of welded, forged armor, as well as something that would be very kind of natural with a nice graceful sweep for the Druid Queen. So extremely flexible. And normally when I'm working in a classroom environment with students, this is about a 3-hour workshop, but everybody goes home with a mask that's at least done enough that they can finish it if they haven't started painting by the time, or Mod Podging by the time we have left. So this is an afternoon. This was done, these two were done in a day. All right, so everything done in a day. So it's not a terribly time-consuming project, and it's not like, oh well, he knows what he's doing. It's the blonde leading the blind here, folks. It's just kind of experimentation. What I did on this one is, if you look inside here, I've got my mask that's from my live cast, and then the mask that I purchased, and then I just taped in between and then macheted in here. So I've got a nice connected deep sockets, which just adds and makes my own much more. And if I wanted to, I could probably put in a black gauze over the eyes of the mask just to make it completely, shut out. Or, for example, use Mylar on this other one so that it's nice and shiny. I can see out, but you can't see in. So there's you can really go futuristic, you can go ancient, you can go modern, you can go animal. Like I said, very flexible, and you've got one that's custom fit to you. If you think that you like it, once you do this, you'll find out, damn, I really like this. The nice thing is with a makeup mirror, you can make these on yourself, which I've done many times, and then have a couple, and like I said, have 3 or 4 blanks hanging on your wall, and then when something comes up, it's like, oh, just give me a day and I'll have a mask. And now you've got something that you show up, it's like, oh, this old thing, well, I just threw it together last night, and be the envy of everybody else. So any questions? You've all been very attentive. I certainly appreciate it. It was my great pleasure to share this with you. My very special thanks to Maren for being my wonderful, gracious model. Chaz for helping me out here in tech. This has been a lot of fun. We look forward to seeing all of you at the Enchanted Forest Ball with our Amazonian theme next year, God willing. And all of you, I hope that you all have a most wonderful Halloween and that you're working on something. Don't let the naysayers get you down. We'll make Halloween happen, even if we have to hold it in our hearts. In 3 weeks' time, we're going to be holding on Zoom a Gothic tea. So yours truly will be hosting it. And who knows, we'll have all kinds of delicious people to eat. I mean, things to eat. And
Can I check the date with you? Can I check the date with you? That's Wednesday, October 21st.
That is
right?
correct.
Is that in your brain? It's not in mine. And what time?
I think
Was
we
it
said
7?
7 o'clock. Yeah.
7. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So,
those usually last an hour or so until everybody gets bored. So,
Yep.
or,
Yep.
as long as people want to hang out.
yeah. We look forward to seeing you in all of your resplendent glory. And if you haven't started on your costumes for Halloween yet, why are you still here? Go sew something. Start cutting that now.
Were there
Thank
any
you all
more,
so very much. We look forward to seeing you again real soon.
were there any more questions before you go? Questions? Anybody?
No, that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Richard.
All right. Talk to you all soon.
Okay, I'll end this meeting now. Thank you.
Okay.